Good morning and welcome to Essential Ingredients. I'm your host, Justine Reichman. With me today is Jamie Poe from Poe&Co. Still sounds lyrical. I like it. Anyway, welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It was great to get to know you a little bit and now have this more in-depth conversation. So for those not familiar with you and what you do, would you just introduce yourself, your title, and the name of your company?
Sure. So my name is Jamie Poe. I am the co-owner of Poe&Co and Poe&Co Folk Foods. And we are a Santa Barbara-based, family-owned, chef-owned catering company out of Santa Barbara. And we also have a small line of vegan camping meals.
Wow. Okay. So much to talk about. So you are your co-owner. So that means that you have a partner. Tell me about your partner.
Yep. And that is my husband, and his name is Jayson. And he also, like me, has a cooking background. We're both longtime chefs. Both of us did stints in different restaurants and hotels, a lot of places that people would know if you're into food. And we started the catering company about 5.5 years ago when we wanted to have kids and we needed to figure out how two chefs could have kids and make it work. So we decided that going into business was the only way we could make it happen, and it's been a good ride.
Awesome. So now you guys run your own business and you've got kids.
Yes, we do. We've got two little kids, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So
Oh,
we are busy.
that does sound busy. So tell me a little bit about your background and your specialty as a chef.
Yeah. So in terms of the catering company, so we kind of like to just say we do seasonal California food, however that means to people. So, think colorful, think seasonally driven, a lot of produce, a lot of like farmer market ingredients, what you see there. And our style is just very approachable but elevated. We don't like perfection at all. So things look a little like purposely messy. And we try to have like sort of that like wabi sabi style when it comes to our food. And we actually have a meal delivery element as well. So we kind of try to translate that type of food into the different legs of the business. So it all is a cohesive sort of style, but in different formats. So the meal delivery, a lot of to-go catering, event catering, and now our vegan camping meals are a little bit of I wouldn't say quite a left turn, but definitely a product that some either, depending on how well you know us, either you do or don't expect.
So what inspired that? Because it does seem a bit of a detour
Yeah.
from what you're doing, right? So what was the inspiration behind that?
So inspiration was the fact that my husband and I are longtime chefs. We're obviously huge foodies, love eating, love cooking, but love eating probably more. And big outdoorsy people. And, especially prior to kids, we used to spend a lot of time hiking, a lot of time at the beach, a lot of time camping. And it sort of was always this, I don't know if you want to call it like a void or like this like sort of like blank question mark when we camped was like what do we eat that makes sense and is good tasting, and also with the limitations that camping brings. And kind of going back to the bigger like why did we do this, we've worked in the service industry for a really long time, and the catering business is very much a service based business. And I think both professionally and personally, we wanted the challenge of doing a product based business. And, we didn't, there's enough jams in the world, there's enough nut butters in the world. And this was something that we felt like was a category that was just really, I guess, stale, really
And
just,
yeah.
and yeah, definitely untapped, but also like something that we felt like we could add value to and bring, with the unique sort of experience that we have and our passion, something that we are uniquely positioned to fulfill.
So how long have you had this product out now?
So product has been out for a little over a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
that's a big deal, from branding to the recipes to the supply chain to co-packing. There's a lot that goes into that.
there is, and there
And
is,
when we first kicked off this conversation, correct me if I'm wrong, we talked about you kicking off your catering company because you were having two kids. So
mhm.
it naturally begs the question, how do you manage two children, a catering company, and now a product launch? I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gluttons for punishment personally. And we like to stay busy. Hi, Jason. There's my partner right
Hi,
there.
Hi, Jason.
how are you?
I can't see your face, but I see the side of you, like a sleeve.
I'm just sneaking in here. I don't want to disrupt the podcast.
Well, at least say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Tell them who you are.
I'm
Well, we
Jayson.
can't see your face. There you
Hi,
go. That's much better. Hi, Jason. Nice to meet you. I'm Justine.
hi, Justine. I'm Jayson. I'm Jamie's partner, although she's the main show. I'm just a side attraction. I'm Co.
Oh, so Jayson of Poe&Co. Nice
Yeah,
to meet you.
he's the co and I'm the
I'm the
po
Co.
now.
Alrighty, so let's circle back there. We were talking about managing and juggling the
Yes.
kids. The catering company wasn't what you imagined in your head when you're like, oh, how are we going to manage this as chefs and have children?
I guess that's the thing, is you don't really think that far ahead when you do things like this. So no, and it is, I mean, quite honestly, a daily struggle to try to figure it all out and get your to-do list even half done. And on to boot, we're also a bootstrap company, which I feel like people don't sort of amplify that enough when it comes to what you see out there, and what that means. And, it's sort of, I mean, whether you have investment or whether you're bootstrapped, they have their pros and cons. But I definitely think that, when you're a bootstrap company, like every minute, every dollar, you really have to account for. And that's something that I think about a lot too.
So why did you guys decide to bootstrap versus go for funding or investment?
Yeah, I mean, I think just it's a little bit more authentic to who we are. Like we're a lot more, I would say, tortoise than hare with our approach in business. And we hope to be
Mhm.
here for a long time. I mean, I think it's the control aspect of it. Like we just really take a lot of pride in making the decisions that need to be made for our business. And yeah, and I think that that's just how we've always felt, and it wasn't really a consideration. Not that it's not, it's a never say never
Right.
situation. It's certainly something that, um, I think is, if it's great for you, great. But for us, it was just sort of the control aspect, the being authentic to ourselves, growing in a way that makes sense for us, and we're keeping our day jobs for the time being. So
Okay. Well, I think that, sometimes it's the hustle, right? It's about making it
mhm,
all happen together and finding that the moment when it's right for you to give up that day job to really go all
yeah,
in, because it is self-sustaining and can bring in the revenue you need to support the business and your family,
exactly.
right? So now since you and Jayson are partners, you guys both have some similar skill sets because you're both chefs, but I would imagine you both have different skill sets.
Mhm.
How do you guys marry that together? So what is it that you guys focus on, and what would you say that he is the guy I go to for this, and he's the one that manages this? And
Yeah. Well, luckily for us, I mean, we sort of had this really natural division, which, I mean, I don't know if we would have been able to make it work otherwise, but, there's a lot more that goes into running a business, a food business, than the actual food itself. So
right.
for us, Jayson is more of the like operations guy. He's the financial guy, whereas I'm more outreach marketing. Like I
Mhm.
run the social media pages. I do all the website so all the, website, anything that has to do with the websites I do basically.
And who does the cooking?
So we both do the cooking, but he carries more of that weight for sure. He deserves a lot of that credit. And we sort of divide the cooking. We've come at first, when we first started, we would definitely step on each other's toes with sort of like vision for how a dish should be. And over time, we've been able to sort of separate that a lot. And like, for example, I do pretty much all the baking. So anything pastry wise, I do. I do any of the mixers, like drinks, things like that. I do anything visual, aesthetic. I have the last say. And then he does basically all savory. And then sometimes like we have weird divisions, like I'll do the salad dressings or something like that, or you know what I mean?
Right. So what would you say about you in terms of like, what would you say? Jamie is amazing to work with, or Jamie is difficult to work with. How would you describe you? Or she's a fixer. She gets everything fixed. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I don't know. I mean, I think I'm probably a bit more the visionary. So I'm a bit more like, let's go in this direction. And then he really helps to get us there. So, I mean, it's really complementary with the way that we work. And it was, like I said, it wasn't just natural off the bat in many of the like creative aspects of it, but over time we synced up really well. And, we still have our disagreements. Like we had a disagreement over handling something this morning, but I think for the most part, we get it done together. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure he'll say I'm difficult sometimes, though.
So what do you think about him? Is he difficult? Is he easy to work with?
Sometimes sure.
I think we all are, right? You put any two humans together, we all have baggage and we all have our own little idiosyncrasies, and everybody's annoying at some time.
Yeah. No, sometimes totally. And it's like we have always talked about how like there are two types of people, one you pull back and one you push forward. Right. And I'm probably more of like, you got to pull me back a little. He's probably a little more like, you got to push him forward a little, which like can work really well sometimes, but then sometimes it, is not the easiest.
I would imagine. Yeah. I mean, there's always somebody that's a visionary. You have chiefs and Indians, right? In often cases, but here you have two chiefs, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then maybe you're the Indian to the other, depending on what the role is.
Yeah. I would say that's probably a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Chiefs and Indians. So now, when you started this, what was your hope for it? What was your big vision?
With the camping meals?
With all of it.
With all of it? Well, I think it's hard with the catering because I think that we just kind of started it. I mean, it was like literally an overnight decision, and it was like, okay, we got to do something now. And there we were. And, I don't know. I mean, what I do know is like, we don't want to grow the catering company to grow in the ways that some of these really big catering companies have grown. So it's like, we're not trying to, like some people will buy their own equipment and rent it out for events. Like we're not trying to rent out giant ovens for events, and we won't. So I think that that's something that, we're very comfortable with the amount of work that we already have. And I think that the focus with growth would be with the product. So the camping meals, which is something that you can scale. We can't really scale ourselves when it comes to private events.
There's only two of you. Yeah. There's only a finite amount of time. So
yeah, no, totally. And, a lot of the impetus for the for the product line is the fact that if we can make it work, we don't have to work on weekends, which is, catering, that's Saturdays are really big. So, and we'd like to spend that time with our kids.
So if we go back to the camping meals, what do they look like? Do you have like a pack? Can you show me a packet?
It's funny, we actually just sold out. So I have a bunch getting ready. We make them in small batches, but we try to, here's like our black garlic ramen bowl.
Yes, that was familiar to me.
Yeah, so this is our bestseller actually, which is like pretty funny. We were just talking about how, I don't know, I kind of thought when we were going to put a ramen on that like it wouldn't be a bestseller only because there's so much, there's a lot of ramen out there already.
Yeah.
But it's our bestseller, which is hilarious. And then I have a couple of extra, like this is
Coconut chickpea stew.
Coconut chickpea stew. This was like the archetype for all of them. And I would say my personal favorite. And then this is a quinoa sweet potato skillet. So like think like breakfast burritos or like any burrito. That's like an amazing flavor profile for that.
And so right now, where are these available to purchase?
So obviously direct to consumers, so through our website. And then we have a bunch of wholesalers. So I have not done a count as of late, but I want to say it's probably around 15 to 20 at this point.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I was thinking REI just seems like a good fit. Would that be a good fit?
Everyone tells us it'll be a good fit. We'll see.
That's just what
Yeah, no, I think that's
in New York.
That's what I think when most people think of this, like REI is the natural.
That's why I gave you another one, Paragon. It's like
I remember Paragon in New York.
Remember Paragon on 17th? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I used to love walking in there as like a board.
Paragon too.
Yeah.
As a kid, I got everything there.
Oh yeah, it's a great place. It's still there, right?
Yeah. At least the last time I was in town, it was there.
All right, I'll go put down.
Every time I go back, something changes.
Yeah, I know. I haven't been to the city since before we had kids, so it's been a while.
Okay, that's a while.
Yeah, and I'm itching to go back. And it's probably the same but different. It always is.
It's different, post-COVID. It's still, I haven't been there in about a year now, but the last time I was there, it felt very much like there were parts of the city still building back up. There were still empty windows. There were still closed restaurants. There were still shops that had been taken off Madison Avenue. However, I stayed down in Soho one time and I stayed in Tribeca, and Soho, I was about a half a block from Balthazar, booming. It was like a completely different city than the Upper East Side, which every other store had been empty. So,
yeah, I know. I mean, definitely did not admire the COVID years over there, but I am itching. I think this is the year I'm itching. Like, I really want to try to get back at some point in the next couple of years.
Well, especially with the kids too. I mean, there's so much fun stuff to do in New York.
Yeah.
And the culinary, let's talk about the food in New York.
Oh, I know.
I mean, there's so much great food, and there's accessible food here while here I feel often everything is inaccessible for so many people because it's so expensive, but yet you have access to all the different fruits and vegetables, right? Because we grow so much here. But I feel like in New York, you have, everything from something that's a bit more accessible to very expensive, all different kinds of experiences in between, and healthy options and better for you options and people using good things. Obviously it's a bigger city than Marin.
Yeah.
And in LA and Santa Barbara, you guys have many more options probably.
Yeah, I don't know. But, New York is the Mecca in the US for sure.
Yeah.
Can't beat it.
So you have the packaged good that you have, which to me, it sounds like you're hoping to have that far surpass any imagination that you have so that you could maybe then not do the catering and that would be the full-time kind of gig, so to speak.
Yeah, I think we'd be very open to that. I think that, we have some ideas for new flavors. And for us, I hope that we can keep building up a really healthy direct-to-consumer business. I just think 2024, like that very much is still what people do and want. And, it's great for us with margins and all that. But then I hope that we do, at some point can scale enough where we have a really strong wholesale presence. And there's a lot of like amazing indie outdoor shops just all throughout the country that I could see us in. And then funnily enough, we've had a lot of interest from Canada. And so
I could see that, like Vancouver and Montreal maybe. And I could totally see that.
So, I
Maybe
have not
Switzerland. I could see Switzerland liking this. They're like,
Switzerland. I don't, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, maybe it will. Who knows? But yeah, I think we're going to definitely focus on the US for now and hope we
so
can,
I know that you have a strong culinary background and
Mhm.
that starting this company was a new venture for you. And maybe you had to tap into skills you didn't know that you had, or just
Mhm.
were not there naturally. What was that like for you guys?
It was very difficult actually. So we thought that as, with our backgrounds, with the cooking backgrounds, that developing like dehydrated, freeze-dried meals would be not a hard thing to do, but we were proven really wrong. It was really, really challenging. And there's not a lot of information on the internet about exactly what to do or how to do it. And then the whole shelf stable aspect of it was very foreign to us. So it was a really big learning curve, and we're still learning things, but it was definitely not simple. And we did a lot of iterations. And then we actually, when we first launched, we probably made our biggest mistake, which was we kind of just assumed that the supply chain that we had would like essentially taste the same as our prototypes. And we learned the hard way that samples don't necessarily taste like what you then get. So it was a challenge, and I'm sure that some of our very first customers think we are gross, but we made some big improvements since then.
Well, I guess it's lessons learned, right? When you're going
Yeah.
into something new. And how did you deal with the fact that you were new to this? You're a little bit green, and get the resources you need to be able to go out there and make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely still very green and we're still learning every day. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's just like anything you do. You just put one foot in front of the other, and it's like that whole, you're building the plane as you're flying it. So I think that's just what we're doing like daily with this. And, it
Did you
just,
tap into other experts that you knew, or
yeah,
did you?
we booked it. Like we spoke with either two or three different consultants, which, you got to kind of sometimes take that with a grain of salt as well. I think sometimes you go into things and you don't know what you don't know. So you kind of expect you to get this whole picture of information, and then maybe you only get a little bit of that picture. So we different consultants, and then we worked with labs. So like for shelf stability testing, for accelerated shelf testing, a big thing is like water. Like you have to make sure that there's no water moisture, it's below a certain thing, whatever they call it, bracket or whatever, with the water content level. So it was definitely a lot, and then things become very expensive when you have to like keep retrying. And so it's definitely a lot to swallow when you don't know what it is that you're swallowing.
So, you look back and you're like, okay, there's all this stuff that I was learning on the go. What
Mhm.
takeaways do you have from that you might institute now doing it so that you might not have those same experiences?
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like, unfortunately, there's only so much preparation you can do.
Mhm.
And it's just like, it's almost like you just have to go through it to go through it. Like, it's just, I mean, as much as you can be organized and you can do your due diligence and you can do the research and all that, like, you just you can't shield yourself from, you know, any hiccups essentially. So,
Is there one question that you might share with somebody else building a business like that they need to ask to make sure that they understand as they're building theirs, or some sort of tip you might be able to recommend?
I mean, I think just don't feel like there's any stupid questions, just
Mhm.
ask questions, even if they seem dumb, just ask them anyway. Like, who cares if people think that it's a bad question?
There's no bad question. Isn't that what they say? So is there
Yeah.
anything you wish you knew going into this?
For example, I think I wish we just, we were so busy when we were putting this all together. And, I wish I would have given myself maybe a little more space and grace with kind of reiterating, like getting it to a point where I felt like, okay, I feel like we're really ready for the next step. And like, I don't know, maybe that's like not the best piece of advice because it's like having kids, right? Like, are you ever really ready? Like,
Right.
no. But I think maybe I wish I would have given myself like a little more space with it all instead of like for example, we launched in the middle of our busy catering like holiday season. Like, don't do that. Just like give it another couple of months and wait until the beginning of the year, so things like that. I think that I wish instead of we were so gun-ho sort of like just needing to get like done is better than perfect sort of a thing. Because I used to be on the perfect side of things. Like, I was very much that perfectionist, and you didn't want to put something out there if it wasn't perfect. And then we
Right.
kind of almost like switched, not like hardcore switched it to the other side of that spectrum, but it was definitely like, okay, let's get it out there. But why didn't we wait until after the holidays? We could have just done that.
That
So I think,
immediate gratification. I think we all want that. We have a great idea. We're like, we got to do this now.
and for us, it was maybe a little more of like something off our to-do list, but like, jokes on us because like, you know, so I think that that's maybe something that I would have allowed for us. And then the whole packaging thing is gnarly, like dealing with like these packaging companies. What I didn't want to do is I didn't want to buy like stand-up pouches. So, this is our pouch, but I don't want to buy like a stand-up pouch that was just like a generic one that we slapped a sticker over.
Sticker on. Yeah.
Which, like, don't get me wrong, like, that is through and through our mentality. Like, we are very like brick building types where it's like one piece at a time, and then let's see if it works, and let's go up to the next thing. But with this, I felt like it was really important that the packaging represented sort of the quality of product that we were trying to put out. And I, Southern California, Central Coast California, where we are, it's actually, it doesn't have as big of a camp culture as other places. And so I knew if we were going to try to sell in our own backyard that we needed to kind of have just like this like pretty package ready to go for people, because I don't think we have enough of like that hardcore, like, I want to eat dried food that you just add boiling water to add back, because I'm familiar with what this is. I don't think we had enough of that audience here to support like a white bag with a sticker on it.
Right.
And so it was important to me that we had something that really looked like it had like care and finesse, and like, here was our beautiful packaged out to you.
And it looks great now. It looks
Thanks.
great. Are you happy with how it came out?
Yeah, but dealing with those companies is pretty gnarly, and you have to buy minimums. So it's like we, bought more than we really wanted to start with.
Right. Yeah.
So we're still living with that decision, but it is what it is. So it's like, it makes us, if we're going to, if we want to make any sort of small changes to the next run, then either we have to wait until the next run, or we have to put some sort of like patch sticker over it. So it's just, those are the choices that you don't realize at the time that you're going to need to maybe think about.
And you know what? Your customers are not necessarily going to know. Like, they're going to think it was intentional, whatever you do.
I know. I was like, we have an amazing graphic designer. So I'm like, she could probably make like a really cool camp patch or something if we really wanted to do that. So
I want to dig in a little bit more to the packaging. So talk to me about your packaging. Is it sustainable? Is it compostable? Given it's for a camping trip, I'm wondering if that was any consideration for you.
Yeah, so it's a great question. And it was something that when we looked into all the packaging and in speaking with different consultants and lab workers and just doing a lot of research in general,
Right.
there are compostable pouches on the market. There's a company, they're called Elevate Packaging. I think they're Midwestern based. I'm not sure, but we actually talked to them at the like Expo West,
Mm-hmm.
and not this year, but the year before. And we talked to them about this product because it was before we pulled the final, we pulled the trigger. I think that it lines up with timing. I don't know. We talked to them though about what it is that we're doing. And they said it won't work essentially. So
Oh,
both in terms of pouring boiling water into them and then the permeability of the packaging itself. So essentially, I know that there are a couple places, I know of like one company that does food like this that uses those bags. And actually, I think they might use them. There's another company that does it. I believe it's up in Canada. But in doing my research, to have a shelf stable product where we have a 2-year shelf life, some of them have like 20 years on them. We didn't want that. So we have a 2-year shelf life. And so ours are not compostable. They're not recyclable, which like pains me to say. And I think it pains everyone who does something like this because we're all like huge lovers of the earth. But we haven't like the technology isn't there
I
essentially.
don't know. There's a company called Wild Kind that makes packaging. You can Google it. I can introduce you to the guy.
Yeah,
I don't know how it works with boiling water, though. That's
that's a
not,
big
that
piece of
wasn't part of our conversation.
yeah.
But I think, if you look that up and you see that it could be a potentially good resource, I'm happy to connect you. Because I
Yeah, no,
do know
I
that.
mean, I'll believe me, I'll revisit that let me just write that down. I'll revisit that every year if I need to see, if the technology is there, but from our like pretty deep research, it wasn't. Um,
So I want to just go back to the food that you make for catering because we have two components here. We have the catering company and then we have the product company. And I just wanted to go back to the ethos that you were talking about, very local and sustainable and doing that. Why is that important to you?
um, I think that You know, I think it's first of all, it's really important to support like local economies,
Hmm.
small businesses, like the makers of things. I think that that's just an important thing that we all can do for where we live. Sustainability. I mean, you know, we've been in this industry a really long time, and it's just this food system's broken. I mean, there's no way around it. Like it just is. So, it's kind of like for us, like we're such pragmatic people that we're not so black and white with everything, but it's like, can you make the better, can you make good choices even if there's a lot of maybe not good choices? We try to support where we can. Other times, like it's not practical for us to, spend every waking moment in a farmer's market trying to gather things for a 300-person event where the menu was preset 6 months ago.
Hmm.
So it's like sometimes there are just those choices that we have to make as well. So we try to, where we can make good decisions.
Right. So now when you look forward, and we look at like the next 3 to 5 years, how do you foresee, or would you like to see, your catering company and your packaged good grow? Do you see
Yeah,
extra SKUs with the packaged goods? Do you see, you tell me.
totally. I think that with the camping food, I see definitely more SKUs. We're working on a breakfast right now. So savory breakfast, and then hopefully a sweet breakfast and then a pasta. So all three of those are very much in the pipeline. Um, I think I don't want to make any like formal announcements, but we definitely have like ideas for some add-ons to that line as well, which I think could be really fun. I think that, in terms of the catering business, I think, probably try to taper that back as we grow this. And then just being, I think a little more selective than we are right now about what
Right.
we would cater that makes sense for us. But, both of them are really fun to do. So it's not like, one or the other is necessarily,
So for those folks that are tuning in and, have an idea and for something that they want to start, what's your advice to them?
just start, like, just do it. I mean, for us, it was, okay, well, what can we make money on that we'd be really interested in doing and passionate about? And, I don't know if that's necessarily always the thing that you need to follow or lead with is the passion, but it certainly helps. And then I think that just, look for something that you think could add value to someone. So, when you need a caterer, you really need a caterer. And when and then our hope is with the camping food is that it's essentially convenience food. And I haven't even like touched on the aspect of the fact that it's all vegan, which is, I think we might be the only all vegan line of camping meals.
Why was that important for you to include?
Well,
Or to
I think that we all know that plant-based is better for the planet. It's better for your bodies. And like us personally as chefs, like the idea of like rehydrating like freeze-dried cubes of meat is just like not our thing at all. Like it's just not something that I have ever even considered. So I think that there's always been a lack of meals in this category that just are better for you, delicious, flavor forward, but also like archetypes for the type of dish, like culinarily, that you just add boiling water to. And I felt like that was something that we could, really put our heads together and do.
So if people want to now either find you to be a caterer or buy your product, what's the best way to connect?
So our website, so that's Poe&C.com. I always tell people it's like Edgar Allan if you can't remember Poe. And that will link you to everything we do. And then Instagram, you can find us at Poe&Co or at Poe&Co Folk Foods.
Awesome. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great to chat with you and learn about what you're doing.
Thank you for having me.